The dopamine trap, how social media hijacks your brain. First, you need to understand how social media works with your brain on a chemical level. Every single time you post a photo and those likes start rolling in, the comments appear, the reactions pop up, your brain releases dopamine, the exact same chemical that fires when you eat something delicious or when someone tells you something that makes you feel amazing. Basically, social media platforms are engineered to hook you chemically. They're like slot machines, but in your phone, designed by some of the smartest engineers in the world, whose entire job is to keep you scrolling, posting, checking. But here's the thing. There are people whose brains simply say no thanks to this whole cycle. And no, it's not because they're weird or antisocial or boring. Studies show something really curious about these individuals. People who refuse to post photos have something called an internal locus of control. I know it sounds technical, but it's just a fancy way of saying their self-worth doesn't depend on what others think. They don't need 200 likes to feel good about their day. They're not waiting for someone to tell them, "You look great," to actually believe it. Think about it like this. For most people, posting a photo is like throwing out a fishing line, waiting for someone to bite. Each notification is a small dose of validation. I matter, I'm important, I'm worth something. It feels good, I'm not going to lie to you. But when those likes don't come in at the expected rate, that's when the anxiety starts creeping in. What did I do wrong? Does nobody like me anymore? Is the photo ugly? Should I delete this? And that cycle repeats over and over and over again. People who don't post cut that cycle from the very beginning. They decided their mental peace is worth more than riding that emotional roller coaster all day long. They chose their inner calm over validation from people they probably don't even know in real life. The strength of self-validation. And pay attention to this because it's counterintuitive. This doesn't mean they have low self-esteem. It's exactly the opposite. They have so much security in themselves that they don't need constant external reminders to feel good. Their value doesn't go up or down depending on how many people liked a photo. Their self-worth is stable, internal, unshakable. There's research from the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology that found people with high internal locus of control report significantly higher life satisfaction and lower rates of depression. Why? Because they're not on this constant emotional seesaw. They're not measuring their worth by metrics controlled by an algorithm designed to maximize engagement, not your happiness. Now, there's another heavy topic here, authenticity. When you post on social media, even if you don't want to admit it, you're showing an edited version of your life. The best angle, the best filter, the best moment, the party but not the hangover the next day, the vacation but not the arguments at the airport, the smile but not the tears the night before when you were alone in your room thinking about everything that's going wrong. Everything is curated, everything is calculated, and when you do that constantly, your brain starts feeling like you're living two lives, the real one and the Instagram one. It's exhausting to maintain that performance. It's draining to be one person at home and another person on your feed. The two-life phenomenon. People who refuse to post often understand this trap perfectly. They prefer to live one single, real life rather than constructing a version of themselves for others to consume. And this requires a level of maturity that not everyone has, because living without that external validation is genuinely difficult at first. It goes against millions of years of evolution that wired us to care what our tribe thinks of us. But here's the difference. Your tribe used to be 50 to 150 people who actually knew you, cared about you, would help you survive. Now your tribe is 800 followers, half of whom you haven't spoken to in 10 years, and the algorithm showing your content to random strangers who will judge you in half a second while scrolling on the toilet. Before we go deeper into the psychology of this, if you're finding this interesting and want to understand yourself better, or maybe understand those digital ghosts in your life, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is all about diving into the psychology behind everyday behaviors that nobody really talks about. And if you're enjoying this, smash that like button. It genuinely helps more people discover this content. And here's something I really want you to do. Share this video with that one friend who never posts anything. You know who I'm talking about, the one everyone thinks is mysterious or weird for not sharing their life online. Send them this. It might help them feel less alone in their choice. Or share it with someone who's constantly posting and feeling anxious about engagement. This might give them a new perspective. Drop a comment too and tell me, are you a poster or a digital ghost? I'm genuinely curious about what percentage of people watching this fall into each category. All right, let's continue. The comparison trap and social media's dark side. There's a concept in psychology called social comparison theory, developed by Leon Festinger back in 1954. Basically, what it says is that humans measure themselves by comparing with others. It's something we do without even realizing it, and social media is absolutely perfect for triggering this constantly. An infinite parade of apparently perfect lives to compare yourself against all day, every single day. But here's the problem. You're always comparing your complete reality, the good, the bad, the ugly, the boring moments, with other people's best edited moments. It's like comparing your worst day with someone else's best day, which they also filtered, adjusted the brightness on, and thought about for half an hour before posting. It's a fight where you're always going to lose. Always. The people who don't post understand this game and decided not to play it. Not because they're losers, but because they realized it's a game where everybody loses. Nobody really wins. Even the people with millions of followers and perfect-looking lives, you see them in interviews talking about anxiety, depression, feeling empty despite all the validation. Let me paint you a scene. Imagine you're in an incredible moment with your best friends. Genuine laughter, real stories, authentic connection. You're actually present, actually having a good time. Suddenly someone says, "Photo for Instagram." What happens in that exact moment? Everything changes. Everyone stops being truly there. They start posing, checking how they look, retaking it because someone's eyes were closed, thinking about what caption to write, what hashtags to use, whether to tag certain people or not. The cost of constant documentation. The moment breaks. What was real, authentic, becomes content for consumption. The connection disappears. People who reject posting photos are often the ones who most value being genuinely present. They prefer living experiences rather than documenting them for people who probably don't even care what they're doing. They prefer the memory in their head over the memory in an app that'll be buried in their feed in 48 hours anyway. And there's hard data backing this up. Studies published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology show that people who are less active on social media report significantly less anxiety and depression. Why do you think that is? Because they're not in that constant cycle of comparison and validation that social media creates. They're not constantly exposed to, look at everything you're missing out, or look how well everyone's doing except you. When you refuse to post, you're basically protecting yourself from that constant emotional bombardment. It's like putting on noise-canceling headphones in an incredibly loud place. You simply need silence to be okay, to think clearly, to know who you actually are beneath all the noise. Deeper connections in a shallow world. And here comes something that surprises many people. Individuals who don't post tend to have deeper, more real relationships. Why? Because they invest their time and energy in genuine connections, face-to-face, vulnerable, real, not in maintaining a perfect public image that needs constant updating. While others are worried about how many followers they have, whether their ex saw their story, or why someone unfollowed them, these people are having 3-hour coffee conversations with someone they genuinely care about. They're having deep conversations about things that actually matter. They're making real memories, not content optimized for engagement. They're building relationships that will still be there when the app shuts down, when the algorithm changes, when social media becomes uncool. There's research from the University of Pennsylvania that found limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day led to significant reductions in loneliness and depression. But think about what you could do with the hours most people spend scrolling and posting. You could learn a new language, master an instrument, read 50 books a year, build a business, develop genuine expertise in something, have meaningful conversations, exercise, meditate, create something real. The vulnerability factor. There's also the topic of vulnerability, and this one's important. When you post a photo on the internet, you're basically opening the door for the entire world to judge you. Your face, your body, your style, your decisions, your entire life. And the internet can be brutal, believe me. Every photo you upload is an invitation to judgment, and not everyone's going to be kind. There'll be mean comments, comparisons, criticism, people you don't even know, giving opinions about personal aspects of your life, like they have the right to do so. People who refuse to post are often protecting their mental peace from that unnecessary exposure. It's not cowardice, it's emotional intelligence. It's knowing how far you want to open yourself up, with whom and in what context. It's setting healthy boundaries in a world that constantly pressures you to share everything. Think about it. We've somehow normalized the idea that if you don't share something publicly, it didn't really happen or doesn't matter. That's insane. The most important moments of your life, the ones that actually shape you, often happen in private. The quiet conversation that changes your perspective. The personal breakthrough when you're alone. The intimate moment with someone you love. These don't need an audience to be real or meaningful. The freedom of digital. Minimalism. And you know what's the most liberating thing about all of this? Not posting doesn't make you invisible or irrelevant. Your value as a person doesn't decrease because it's not documented in an app. Your life isn't less real because it's not on your Instagram feed. Your achievements don't disappear because you didn't announce them with a carousel of photos and an inspirational caption. Real confidence doesn't need an audience. True happiness doesn't need likes. Authentic connections don't need Wi-Fi to exist. The strongest relationships in your life aren't the ones you post about. They're the ones you protect from public consumption. There's something called digital minimalism, a concept popularized by Cal Newport. It's the idea that you can be highly selective about which technologies and platforms you use and how you use them. People who don't post are practicing a form of this. They're not rejecting technology entirely. They're just being intentional about it. They're using social media as a tool when it serves them, not as a master that demands constant feeding. The neuroscience of presence. Let me tell you something else fascinating from neuroscience. When you're constantly thinking about documenting moments for social media, you're actually encoding memories differently in your brain. Research shows that when you're focused on capturing an experience for posting, you're less likely to form rich, detailed memories of the actual experience. Your brain is in documentation mode, not experience mode. People who don't post are more likely to form what psychologists call autobiographical memories, rich, detailed recollections tied to emotions and sensations, not just visual snapshots. They remember how things felt, not just how they looked. They remember the conversation, the laughter, the connection, not just the pose they held for 5 seconds. The maturity factor. So next time someone asks you, why don't you ever post anything? Or makes you feel weird for being practically invisible digitally, remember this. Your brain isn't being antisocial or boring. It's being selective. It's prioritizing your mental well-being over validation from a bunch of strangers. It's choosing depth over breadth, quality over quantity, reality over performance. And that decision is probably one of the most mature choices you can make in today's world. Because let's be real, we're the first generation navigating this. There's no roadmap for how to have a healthy relationship with technology that's designed to be addictive. We're all figuring it out. But the people who step back and say, this doesn't serve me, are probably ahead of the curve. They're not missing out. They're opting out of a system that was never designed for their well-being in the first place. They understand that the most important validation comes from within, that the most meaningful connections happen offline, and that their worth isn't determined by metrics controlled by corporations. Look, I'm not saying everyone should delete their social media and never post again. That's not realistic. And honestly, social media can be useful for staying connected, sharing important moments with distant family, building communities around shared interests. The point isn't that posting is bad and not posting is good. The point is being intentional about it. Ask yourself, why am I posting this? Is it because I genuinely want to share something meaningful, or am I seeking validation? Am I trying to prove something to people who don't really matter? Am I performing happiness instead of feeling it? These are hard questions, but they're worth asking. The digital ghosts, the people who don't post, They've answered these questions for themselves. They've decided that for them, the cost isn't worth the benefit, and there's profound wisdom in that choice, especially in a world screaming at you to share everything, be everywhere, perform constantly. Your mental health matters more than your follower count. Your real-life relationships matter more than your online presence. Your actual experiences matter more than the documentation of those experiences. And if this video helps you understand yourself better or helps you feel less weird about being selective with what you share, then it's done its job. If this content resonated with you and you want more deep dives into the psychology behind everyday behaviors, subscribe to this channel right now. We post videos like this regularly that make you think differently about the world around you. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And seriously, share this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message, whether they're struggling with social media anxiety or they're a digital ghost who feels alone in that choice. This might be exactly what they need to see today. Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. Are you rethinking your relationship with posting, or are you a digital ghost who finally feels understood? I read every comment and I genuinely want to know your perspective. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay authentic, stay present, and remember, your worth isn't measured in likes.